All right, hello everyone. I'm Sandy Selman. I'm a venture partner with the TMC Emerging Technology Fund, and I'm here today with Andrew Pollock, who's founder and CEO of leadPops, our latest investment with the fund. And we wanted to do this interview, let Andrew tell his story about leadPops and how he got to where he is today. It's not been a straight line, I'm sure, as none of these successful companies are. So, Andrew, let me just turn it over to you real quick and have you just tell us real quickly what motivated you to start leadPops. What was the catalyst to get you to really to dive into this?
Yeah. First off, Sandy, thanks for having me. Appreciate you as a partner, as a friend, and looking forward to building Lead Pops bigger and better with you on our team. So yeah, what motivated me to start Lead Pops? Got into digital marketing 18 years ago. Didn't go to college, didn't go to school. I've got a unique story that I didn't share a whole lot early on, but I've started to kind of share that and use that. And I think there's something there that I can probably help people with in the future. But I didn't finish high school. I was one of those troubled youths, I guess you could say, totally self-imposed. Nobody did it to me but myself. But dropped out of high school, and probably the best piece of advice that I got actually was from my dad, who was an entrepreneur, kind of a self-made businessman who immigrated here from Poland when I was born. And he said that if you're not in school and if you don't get an education, your best bet's to get into sales if you want to make a decent income. So I took that seriously. I got into sales as 2004, and it was a digital marketing company selling real estate websites to real estate agents. Learned about sales, cold calling, technology, the real estate industry. All of it was incredibly fascinating to me. I got good at sales quickly. I took it very seriously. There's over 100 salespeople at the company. I was number one within 6 months. I was the only person they'd ever hired without a college degree, and it was my chance to prove to myself and to everybody that had doubted me that I could go my own way and kind of carve my own path and be successful. And I realized early on also selling that I needed to believe in what I was selling in, and I thought it could be done better than what we were selling at the time at that company. So a couple of years later, I ended up launching and co-founding a mortgage website template company, a startup that was pretty successful. It still exists today. Between 2006 and 2009, we had some great growth. Companies started to stagnate, and I started really paying a whole lot more attention to what's the driving factor in business online, and the ability to capture leads to me was obviously really critical. If you're spending money on marketing, if you're spending money building a presence online, doing a website, doing social media marketing, you've got to have something in place that's actually going to be able to capture and convert business for you. Otherwise, it's just an online business card. I saw a couple big players, big companies that were doing lead gen better than anybody else, and I thought somebody needs to bring this to the masses. This can't just be like Lending Tree's little secret. This is something everybody should be doing that's doing digital marketing. There's a psychology to it. So we created a product and a platform to help our clients generate their own leads, doing what the biggest players out there are doing to capture those leads, but doing it for themselves. So we don't sell leads. We planted a flag firmly in the ground, being anti-selling leads. That's just nothing we're ever going to do as a business. We understand there's a need for it. A lot of people rely on that, but what we're trying to do is say, hey, you could be doing this for yourself. You could be capturing, creating your own organic leads from the marketing that you're already doing. They're better quality. They convert into sales and deals at a higher rate, and it helps you get a better ROI on everything that you're doing. So there's a huge opportunity there. And 10 years later, it's as big as it ever was. It still seems that people aren't really paying enough attention to not just spending money on marketing, but optimizing. Like, how do I make sure if we're spending money and effort and time into any kind of advertising that we're getting results from it? And that's what we've really focused on is marketing and revenue optimization for mortgage specifically, and now getting more into real estate as well, as those two industries go hand in hand.
Well, that's super interesting. So your immigrant father said if you want to be successful, go into sales. You went into sales. You fell into digital marketing. Happened to be in the mortgage sector. You identified the opportunity that leads was kind of where it was at for generating business. and you
Yeah.
obviously happen to have a passion for it. I mean, how fortunate! What a fortunate sequence of events for you, and I'm sure your father was very pleased with with how things turned out for you. Um, Let me ask you. So from the time that you conceived of the business to where you are today, I'm sure things have not gone in a straight line. I'm sure you had ideas
Mm.
about how this thing would unfold. As you mentioned, it's been 10 years, and I'm sure that's a lot longer than the time frame you thought you were going to be on to get to this point. Tell us a little bit about that. What's that process been like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my little overnight success story, right? It's since the idea came to mind, like I first conceived of this concept in 2009.
Andrew, you know that old saying, every overnight success is 10 years in the making.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard
go
it, and
on.
I'm like, that's where I'm at. So that's what it was supposed to be. I was gonna have an army of work at home moms selling this amazing digital product, and I would have no employees, no overhead, really, all commission based sales, and everybody would love it, understand it, sign up for it, and become a client and stay a client forever. That was my that was what I thought
Yeah,
possibly would happen,
that was
and
the plan. All right.
it
So what
yeah.
happened?
Yeah, so came up with the idea in 2009, as I shared, launched the business officially, created an LLC on LegalZoom in 2011, struggled trying to sell this thing from my kitchen table. Nobody understood what I was talking about. Since 2011, 2012, uh, cold calling loan officers, trying to talk about lead conversion, conversion optimization, landing pages, lead generation. This stuff was just not hitting home for almost anybody I was talking to. Didn't have any funding, didn't have a team, didn't have anything other than my partner who built the product as an what we call an MVP, really a minimum viable product, just to prove that this concept even works. And me on the phone trying to sell it to people who weren't really having it, no reputation, no credibility. And I realized after about 14 months of no paycheck, struggling, that I would have to probably go back to work and find somebody to work for. And I didn't really want to do that. And I didn't want to throw in the towel. So I made a list of big companies, like real players that I thought could benefit from what we were doing. And my list had a few big names on it, names people will recognize. The biggest one on there was Zillow. It was the first name on my list. I was like, we're going to do something with Zillow. Started investigating where you could plug leadPops into what Zillow was doing. And I found the most clear, obvious path you could imagine right inside of what they were calling, and they still call it today, their mortgage marketplace. And so I called into a lower level kind of sales rep who ended up pushing me through to a manager, to another
That was a cold
manager.
call.
Yeah, yeah.
A cold call.
The
Wow.
cold call got me through all the way to finally speaking to the director of mortgages at Zillow at the time in 2012. And
Huh.
he was like, that's a great idea. He's like, that makes perfect sense. We should test it. And I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing, because this is all I wanted. This is all I could ask for. It's like, yes, okay, let's test it. Let me show you guys what it can do, and put us up against your best performing, let's call it, landing page on your mortgage marketplace, one of your top advertisers who's still a client today, by the way. Really cool folks over at a bank in Kansas City, and they said, "Hey, we'll try it. Worst case scenario, we go back to what we were doing. We'll let it run for a few days or a week or two and see kind of what the difference is. And if it's meaningful and it's great, then we keep it going. And if things are moving the wrong direction in terms of what we're getting from the marketing spend, then we'll just go back to what we were doing prior. No
Was
harm
that
in
also a
trying it."
cold call?
That was set up by Zillow.
Oh, okay.
Zillow picked who they thought would be the most kind of open, forward thinking, someone that would embrace a test, because you never know which direction a test is going to go. Some folks are like, "Hey, I'm not going to be the guinea pig. Like, call me when you figure it out if it's something I want to look at, but I'm not gonna try." So they knew specifically a company and an individual who was really open to that kind of stuff. So we tried it out, we tested it, and we literally doubled the conversion rate from clicks to leads, meaning twice the amount of people that clicked into the lead pops version of the experience for the consumer converted into a lead versus what they were doing prior with their own kind of homegrown, let's call it a lead funnel or a landing page that they were using inside of their mortgage marketplace. So
Is that
uh,
what you predicted, or were you surprised?
Oh, I knew we were going to blow it out of the water. I didn't know how big it was going to be, but I definitely knew we were going to beat what they were doing. There's no doubt about it. I can look when you do what I do, you can look at anybody's experience, let's call it, that they create online, and you can very quickly know if you're going to have an impact. You can open up a page or a site, click around on it for in 10 seconds, you know if you can have an impact on conversion rates and improve the user experience very quickly. It's just stuff after 18 years, it's very easy to identify and know that's wrong, that's good, but tweak this messaging here incorrect, you got to change that up, no benefit focus in the tagline, like basic stuff, colors are wrong, questions are wrong, stuff you can assess immediately. So we knew we'd have an impact and it would be better, but we didn't know it was going to be double, triple, and quadruple the conversion rate, because there are different places Zillow was plugging us in to test us out. There were different places Zillow was using banner ads on their site. That's how they monetized their traffic at the time. It was cost per click advertising. You were paying for clicks and impressions from Zillow, and they weren't selling leads at the time. So they were driving clicks to their advertisers, let's call them landing pages or lead funnels, and that's where leadpops plugged in and said we can make a big difference. And depending on where they were plugging us into Zillow, we're between double and quadruple the conversion rate depending on which location they plugged leadpops in. So they wanted to make sure it wasn't a fluke. They tried out a handful of other clients that said, they were willing to try it out, especially after they saw the first use case or the first case study. And before you know it, Zillow made it a priority to literally rip out everything they were doing in their mortgage marketplace and plug lead pops into their entire system at the time.
I know that, from my own familiarity with your background, I know that that was a significant, breakthrough for you, but that in and of itself did not make the company. And
Oh
in
no.
fact, yeah, it was a long path from there to here. And in the course of that, you literally wrote the book on
Yeah.
on lead generation, lead marketing. And I wonder if you can just say a few words about that, because that's another interesting piece of your story I think people would be interested to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zillow was great, and then it wasn't. They took what we built out for them, learned from it, and then built it themselves into Zillow and cut us out of the equation. Hey, that's business, understood. I learned some things from that experience. It's the ultimate feather in our cap. They're still doing what we built for them in 2013. Now, today, almost 10 years, there's so much room for improvement there. By the way, I look at it now. I'm like, you guys, like, if I had the same cell phone I had 10 years ago, there's so much more I could do with it. So I look at it now, I'm like, hey guys, maybe we should do a round two because I could definitely help you out, but I don't know if I want to go to the dark
Yeah,
side
under a
again.
different business model.
I've been on the dark side before. I know what happens with those leads that they are now selling. So they changed their business model. They went from selling clicks to selling leads once we fixed their conversion problem. So real quick segue, we did some very similar work with Bankrate. We worked with them for about 3 years, rebuilt their entire mortgage rate table strategy. They were a great partner. They really treated us well. They invested $250,000 with us as a client of leadPop. So that was great. During that time, we kind of went underground and really focused on building a more scalable, automated product based on all the testing and everything we learned working with Zillow and Bankrate, with millions of consumer interactions on our pages, testing questions, colors, messaging, graphics, like all these things that you can test to figure out like what's moving the needle the right direction, what's impacting conversion rates for better or worse, and we baked that into the product. During that time, I also realized nobody knows who I am. I still don't have credibility really in this industry. I've got this little startup with no funding. I've had a couple pretty big success stories, but that doesn't mean a lot to anybody when they don't know who I am. So I decided that it was time to write a book on mortgage marketing, and I let it all out. I mean, it's a 300-page uh, manifesto, right? It's the Mortgage Marketing Manifesto. That's if you're interested, you can check that out on Amazon. And I laid it all out, and that was a game changer. I mean, I published that within a couple of months. I got invited to speak at my first event. Met a sales director over at one of the larger retail mortgage companies who saw me speak, immediately wanted me to fly out to their headquarters. Had a chance to explain and show and teach them about lead pops and conversion optimization and all the things that come with it. They became a client in 2018. Quickly after that, even a significantly larger mortgage lender became a client. I don't want to drop names, but these are big mortgage companies, well respected, lot of loan officers at these organizations. They also became a client. So the dam started to really break in 2018. Between 2013, the Zillow and the Bankrate stuff, in 2018, it was a lot of struggling, trying to figure out like who is this product for? We tried it with the loan officers originally and mortgage companies. They weren't ready for it. We pivoted to these big giant lead generators. There's not enough of these types of companies out there, and they're so big they can kind of copy what we do. So we had to find like who is the best target client for what we're doing. And we went back to the mortgage industry, loan officers and mortgage companies in 2018, and this time they were ready for it. It was like a completely different conversation. The language, the vernacular, everything was now, it felt natural, and people were embracing it and they were ready for it. So
A
that's
mentor of mine once told me that you need to stay in business long enough to realize the fruits of your success.
yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you can look back and kind of appreciate some of it, because
Right?
when
There's
you're in
wisdom
the
in that statement.
when you're in the thick of the struggle, there is that doubt. You're always trying to figure out, like, I don't have money. How do I get money? I need money. Like, that was the struggle of life forever. You got to do 20 things. You can only afford to do one thing. What is the biggest, most impactful thing you could be spending your time on at any given moment? And always trying to focus and figure that out. For me, it was sales. It was improving the product so I could be ready to have conversations with top retail mortgage lenders and mortgage companies. And we finally got the product ready to have those conversations around that time. I also was able in 2018 to finally hire a lady I'd been trying to recruit for since I started leadPops. She was a VP of customer service at my prior startup, and she was just amazing. She's now our COO. I was able to finally hire her. I could afford her, and I could justify having her on the team in 2018 because we were at about getting close to 1,000 clients at that time, about to crack $1 million a year in revenue. So I could finally justify. She's like rocket fuel. Her name's Rosa Romaine. She's a rock star. Finally could justify bringing her on board. I could afford to bring her in, and she and I have really grown the business. I mean, we've grown by almost 700% since 2018 now, just working together as a team, growing the team, taking leadPops from like 5 people to now 120 people around the world. So it's just been that's been so much fun. Like, I'm having the time of my life. The struggle was fun too when you look back at it and you're like, that's what it
Yeah.
took to get here. But the problems I'm having now are more fun than the problems I was having then. The problems I was having then, I don't want to have those problems again. At least.
Yeah. When you're in the struggle, it's never that much fun, but it is fun to look back when you make it through the cloud. And it's a really compelling story. I want to thank you for sharing it with us. It's a story that bears many common elements with all the other success stories that I've heard over the years. It's grit, it's determination, it's passion, it's fortitude, it's creativity. And Andrew Pollock, congratulations on getting to where you are. We look forward to being a long-term partner with you, helping you accelerate your growth even further in the mortgage industry, and even better times ahead.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sandy. We're super excited about the opportunity to partner with you guys, and yeah, looking forward to growing together.
Great. Thank you for joining us today.